Way back in 1899, this short essay came out that, believe it or not, would be handed out to millions of soldiers, students, and employees for the next 100 years. It's called A Message to Garcia, and on the surface, it tells a really simple story about just getting the job done. But this little tale, it's also one of the most controversial workplace stories ever written. So let's dive in and figure out why. Okay, so the story kicks off with some serious pressure. The Spanish-American War has just started. The President of the United States has to get a super important message to an ally. There's just one tiny problem. Nobody has any idea where this ally is. He's completely off the grid.
Let's set the scene. It's 1898. The war is on. And President McKinley is facing a massive problem. He absolutely has to get in touch with the leader of the Cuban insurgents, a man named Garcia. I mean, the entire war effort could depend on this one single communication getting through.
And when I say this task seems impossible, I mean it. Garcia is tucked away somewhere deep in the mountains of Cuba, which is, a hostile war zone. There's no mail service, no telegraph lines, no one has an address for him. The clock is ticking and there is just no obvious way to reach him.
So the president is stuck. What can he possibly do? Well, someone in his cabinet has an idea. They just say, there is a fellow by the name of Rowan who will find Garcia for you if anybody can. That's it. No big sales pitch, no resume, no background check, just a name. Rowan.
So they call Rowan in, and his reaction is really the whole point of this story. He's given the letter, and he just takes it. No questions asked. He seals it in a waterproof pouch, straps it to his chest, and he's off. He lands in Cuba, disappears into the jungle for 3 weeks, and then somehow he emerges on the other side of the island and delivers the message right to Garcia.
And here we go. This is it. This is the single most important sentence in the entire essay. Rowan was handed this impossible mission, and he didn't complain, he didn't hesitate, and he didn't ask a single question. He didn't ask, where is he, or how do I get there? He just took the message. For the author, that is the sign of a truly remarkable person.
So here's the twist. The author, a guy named Elbert Hubbard, he's not actually interested in the Spanish-American War. The story about Rowan, it's just a setup. The real message here is about human character and what it takes to really succeed, not just in a war, but in, well, anything.
Hubbard's story actually created a whole new expression. To carry a message to Garcia basically became code for someone who gets things done without needing their hand held. It's all about taking initiative and seeing a task through to the very end, no matter what gets in your way.
So what does this perfect employee look like? Hubbard says this person has a stiffening of the vertebrae. Basically, they have a backbone. They're loyal, they act fast, they focus all their energy on the goal, and to put it simply, they just do the thing.
But Hubbard doesn't just sing the praises of people like Rowan. Actually, he spends most of the essay going after their opposite. He's clearly got this deep frustration with what he calls the average person.
And wow, he does not hold back. He literally writes that he's appalled by the imbecility of most people, what he sees as this widespread inability, or maybe more to the point, this unwillingness to just focus on something and get it done.
So he basically sets up these two totally different ways of thinking. On one side, you've got the Rowan mindset, loyalty, quick action, total focus. And on the other side, well, what he says is the norm, foolishness, wasting time, and just sort of half-hearted effort.
To really drive his point home, Hubbard lays out this simple little thought experiment. Imagine you're in an office, right? You ask a clerk to go look up some info on an old artist named Correggio. Pretty simple request.
Well, according to Hubbard, that clerk is almost guaranteed not to just do it. Instead, they're going to hit you with a whole bunch of what he calls idiotic questions. Things like, who was he? Where's the encyclopedia? Was I hired for that? Can't Charlie do it? This list isn't just about getting clarity. For Hubbard, it's proof of an unwillingness to think for yourself.
So what happens because of these two different mindsets? Well, this is where Hubbard's essay gets really intense and pretty controversial. He basically applies this survival of the fittest idea to the office. He thinks there's a natural and necessary outcome for both types of people.
He claims that every single business is in a constant state of weeding out. Bosses are always sorting through their employees, looking for the ones who can handle things and, well, getting rid of the ones who can't.
And this brings us to his big lesson. The incompetent workers, they get let go. It's just self-interest for employers to keep the best people. And who are the best? The ones who can carry a message to Garcia.
Hubbard claims a person like that is so valuable, they'll never be unemployed, they'll never have to go on strike for better pay, it'll just be given to them. And yeah, you can see why management loved this idea, and why labor unions not so much.
This quote really gets to the core of what Hubbard admires. It's not about working hard just because the boss is watching. It's about having your own internal drive. It's about the person who does great work whether someone is looking over their shoulder or not. That's what true loyalty is.
And for his big finale, Hubbard takes this whole idea way beyond the workplace. He says that the entire history of civilization is basically one long, anxious search for these kinds of people. The self-starters, the problem solvers, the ones you can truly count on.
So the essay ends with a direct challenge. And even now, more than 100 years later, people still argue about it. Is it a timeless lesson in personal responsibility, or is it a way for bosses to exploit their workers? Whatever you think, Hubbard's final question is meant to be a personal one. He's asking, in your own life, are you the person who can carry a message to Garcia?